Okay, everyone, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining Dynamics Tidbit Tuesdays at 2, presented by Behringer Technology Group. It is 2 o'clock and we are going to go ahead and get started. My name is Adam Murabito, and today I'm really excited about walking you through the process of creating your first model-driven app in Dynamics 365. So we started this series as a fun way to demonstrate some of the most interesting and useful features of the Dynamics 365 apps for customer engagement in a way that's informal, digestible, and relevant. So I hope you walk away from this webinar feeling like you learned something new, as well as something helpful. So as I mentioned, today's webinar is going to focus on model-driven apps. You may see me reference other Dynamics configuration options. So if you have questions on any of those, I'd highly recommend that you check out our blog, which you can find the link to on our website at behringer.net. And if you can't find what you're looking for there, you can reach out to us via phone, email, or through our website at behringer.net, and we will be happy to help. So just a little bit about me. As I mentioned, my name is Adam. I'm an implementation specialist here at Behringer Technology Group, and I do a bit of everything as it relates to Dynamics, from writing code to training end users and just about everything in between. Before joining Behringer, I spent nearly 10 years in the food service and the aerospace and defense supply chains, where I had the opportunity to work with all kinds of proprietary and commercial ERP systems, MRP, OMS, warehouse management systems. I've seen just how good enterprise software can look when it's purpose-built, and just how bad it can be when data is siloed and user adoption is neglected. You can find me on the Behringer blog as Dr. Dynamics, where you'll typically see me espousing configuration before customization. There are so many out-of-the-box features that you can turn to within Dynamics that don't require custom code, and I'm a huge proponent of using those. And that's precisely why I'm presenting this today, because model-driven apps is one of those no-code features that you can use to really drive user adoption in Dynamics. So what can we expect to accomplish today? We're going to start out by defining exactly what a model-driven app is and what type of value it offers to you as a system administrator or a business decision maker. We're going to discuss the standard 3-step approach to app design and what each step entails. We're going to look at a possible business use case for a model-driven app and create an app to meet that need. And we're going to review how to grant access to our new app's end users through security roles. And we're going to do all of that within the next 25 minutes, and it's going to be a breeze. So what is a model-driven app? So model-driven apps are a way for your users to access Dynamics in a customized, purpose-specific application where much of the layout is determined by the components that you add. The emphasis is more on quickly viewing your business data and making decisions, and less on intricate app design. You can build apps that are very simple or very complex with no code at all, simply by focusing on the components that your users need. So one of the greatest advantages of a model-driven app too is that they look great and they look consistent on a variety of devices like PCs, tablets, mobile phones, while allowing you to keep the development in one environment. So before we jump in and start creating our own model-driven app, we should talk about our design approach. And there's 3 steps that are going to ensure our success. So the first is to model our business data. And this involves thinking about our target audience and deciding exactly what data from Dynamics we want to include and display in our app. Then we can define our business process. Here we want to think about how we want users to interact with our app and ensure that the app provides a consistent, intuitive process every time. And then finally, we're going to build the app using the app designer contained within Dynamics. And we're going to create the app with the components and processes we identified in the first 2 steps. So you might be thinking that this is easier said than done, but I can assure you that it is nearly that simple. So I'm not much for PowerPoint. At this point, I want to jump into Dynamics and review an example use case and show you how we might design a model-driven app to support it. So we're going to begin in our Dynamics 365 apps for customer engagement environment. What you see in front of you is the unified client interface, which we covered in our last Tidbit Tuesday session. I would highly suggest watching that if you're unfamiliar with the unified interface, as the legacy web interface is scheduled to be deprecated in October of 2020. And what you see in front of you is going to be your only option. And you can find that recording on our blog as well. So we're in Dynamics. Let's imagine a use case in which our sales staff has to request special products from an engineering group. So there's probably a custom process in place in Dynamics that allows the sales staff to request these products, and then maybe an engineering user comes in and provides a cost, a stock number, and a description. So in our standard sales hub, if you imagine that you're an engineer and you log in right here, you see everything: accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, quotes, a bunch of things related to sales and a bunch of things that don't relate to the job you need to do. So now I have to hunt around to find the special products request. And I'm an engineering user and I don't know what I'm looking at here. Maybe it's down here. Maybe PDF generation, that doesn't look right. Partner apps, maybe I need to go over here. And now I have to agree to some terms of service. And this is not what we want the engineering staff to do. We want the engineering staff to come in and be able to do their job without hunting around, without a whole bunch of manual steps. So maybe we've provided the engineers with a dashboard, and when they log in, they know they need to go to their dashboard. So they drop down, and there's like 30 dashboards in here, and I can't remember what it's called as an engineer. Is it special products? No, it's not in the S's. Is it request? No, there's no R's. Okay, here I finally found it. It's engineering special product dashboard. And okay, I need to work with this special product request for some cooling duct work. So I click into it. And now that it's open, the first thing I see is a process tab. This isn't related to me. This is entered by the sales staff. I have to tab over to the engineering process. So as an engineer, the system doesn't really work for me. I'm like a stranger in a strange land, and I'm trying to find the 4 fields that I need to do my job. But I have to go through all of this other information to find that. So wouldn't it be great if I could log in and only interact with the special products request entity? And I could just log in, see my dashboard, click on this special products request, and be met with these 4 fields. And that's exactly what a model-driven app offers. And we just inadvertently accomplished the first 2 steps of the design process, right? The first step is to model our business data, decide what we need to see. And we decided that for an engineer, all we need to see are the special products requests and the dashboards. And then we accomplished the second step as well. We defined our process. We want to log in and use the dashboard to find our work, open it up, and work on it. So we're already 2/3 of the way done. And the final step is to use the app designer and build this app out. So let's see just how easy that is. So what we're going to do is navigate to our settings. I'm going to go to settings and solutions. I'm not going to go into best practices for solution creation and patching. I'm going to assume that you have a working knowledge of that. But if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more, we have a ton of articles over on our blog about solutions, patches, and best practices. But I'm going to assume that you're at least familiar on a base level with solutions. So here I have a patch that I created for engineering special products. I'm going to open that up in the Solution Explorer. And I'm going to scroll down on the left-hand side here. And near the bottom, we have these little blue boxes, and it says Model-Driven Apps. So if we click that, we have 2 options. We can add an existing model-driven app. So Dynamics comes with a handful out of the box for CRM and marketing, sales. But we don't want to use any of those in this case. We're going to design ours from the ground up. So I'll click New. So we're going to give our app a name. We're going to give it a brief description. We have an option to use the default image here, which is this app tile. I'm going to uncheck that, and I've uploaded a custom image as a web resource that we're going to use here. Special request icon, and it's a little hard hat. We have a URL here that we can provide specifically to our engineering team so that they can access just this app instead of going into Dynamics and poking around to find it. We have a few options here to use an existing solution or a welcome page, but we want to keep this as vanilla as possible. Once I've done these three things, I'll click done, and it should take me to the app designer. So the first thing we want to do is edit our sitemap. You can do that by clicking the little pen next to the sitemap. And we want to start by giving things some names because new area doesn't really tell us anything. So we'll rename that engineering, and we'll rename this group my work. And then we can start adding sub areas. So our first sub area is maybe the dashboard that we need to include. And we can select down here the default dashboard as well, right? So when we have an engineer log into this app, we want them to see that engineering special product request dashboard every time. I'll add another sub area. And this will navigate us to an entity. And we can type to search. We want to give the engineers access to the special product request entity. And that's all we need. So we'll click save and publish to publish our sitemap so that we can use it within the app. And then we'll click save and close. And we are back to our app designer. So we want to review the dashboards that we want to include, right? Because I don't think we want engineers to go through all 30 just to find the one that they want. So this gives us the option, if we uncheck all, to only include that engineering dashboard. So we'll check that off, uncheck this one, save. So over to the right of that, we have business process flows, and those are probably outside of the scope of what we can cover in a 30-minute webinar. So I'm not going to touch on them here, but we don't have any business process flows associated with the special products request anyway, so we're going to ignore that. And then the last thing that we want to do is look down at our special products entity here, and we want to update the entity forms. So I've created a special entity form just for engineers, and that's the only form we want to include. So we're going to, again, uncheck all, and we're only going to check off this engineering process form. And that's it. The configuration of a custom app for your end users is that simple. The only thing that we have to do still is save and publish. So let's jump back into CRM and see just what this app looks like and see how it might be leaps and bounds better for an engineer to come in and work with this app as opposed to working within the standard Sales Hub in Dynamics. So I need to refresh my page here. And then when I drop down and look at my list of apps, here it is, the engineering process app. It's easy to identify because we have the golden hard hat. If I'm an engineer, I'm either navigating with the direct link that I was provided, or if I have to come here, I can easily find this because it looks distinct. It says engineering, This is my app. This is what I use to get my job done. So once we click into it, we see that our home page is the engineering dashboard that we selected, and that there's no option to select anything else. So I can't come in here and get confused. I can't come in here and get lost. My work on the left contains only what I need to get my job done as a special process engineer. So if I click into one of my active requests here, the entity form is the engineering process form that I designed specifically for this app. I don't have to page back and forth between a sales and engineering tab. Everything that I need to do my job is right here in front of me, and this sales reference data is locked so that I can't come in and accidentally delete it. So I can come in, enter the data I need. We'll give this a price, a stock code, and a product description. I'll update my status, send to sales, save the record. As an engineer, I'm in, I do my work, and I'm out. So one final consideration with model-driven apps is security. If your app should be restricted to specific users, you can do this based on security roles. So we're going to do this by navigating back to settings. We'll use the gear in the top right and go to advanced settings. Drop this back down and we'll go to the My Apps area. So here we see the engineering process app, and just below the icon is a little ellipses for more options. And from here you can click Manage Roles. This pops out a list of all of your active security roles, and you can decide exactly who you want to have access to this, right? So typically there would be, maybe in this case, an engineering security role. It's as simple as checking off whoever you want to grant access to and clicking Save. And when those users log in, they will see their new model-driven app over here in My Apps. So just to recap, today we learned what a model-driven app is, and we discussed the standard approach to designing a custom app. We looked at a real-life use case where a model-driven app can make a user's life easier and increase user adoption, and we went ahead and created that app for them. And then once the app was created, we went ahead and granted access to our users through the use of security roles. So I know that was a bit of a whirlwind, but I hope it demonstrated to you just how easy it is to create these model-driven apps. It's a no-code solution. It's drag and drop. It's very visual, and it's focused on the components you add, less than the design of the application and the user interface. So does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, great. If there are no questions, I hope this demonstration has been helpful and easy to follow and has sparked ideas as to how you could potentially use model-driven apps in your Dynamics environments. After this webinar, you're going to receive a follow-up email with a brief survey. If there's a topic that you would like to see us present on in a future Dynamics Tidbit Tuesday, please submit it there. We would love to hear from you. And I'd like to thank you one more time for joining today's webinar. You can contact Behringer at any time with the information displayed here on your screen. I hope you have a great day.